And the map actually is going to be Metropolis, so I think this is a nice big map for Snute.
Yeah, that's definitely right. He'll be able to execute a lot of strategies here too if he wants to try and be sneaky. With Nidus play, there's a lot of opportunity to do that here. If he wants to try and go through the air, he can certainly do that with Mutalisk. So for a player who's very creative, for a player who uses a lot of different strategies, this is a pretty good fit.
Look at that stone cold killer face from Bomber, just ready to win this 2-0. So we're about to jump into this game. Can Snute do it from behind? He did it against StarTale Live. Can he tag team two StarTale players?
We'll find out. Life has gone down. Bomber has not so far. We're going to jump into this game, though. The signs out there. It's a fantastic Marine sign. Well done. Well done. We'll see what both these players offer here in just a second. There's Bomber. Stone Cold Killer you mentioned before. There's Snute. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The map is going to be Metropolis. And down here at the 6 o'clock position, we have our Red Terran player from the team StarTale. He is...
StarTale Bomber.
That's right. Bomber is up 1-0 at the moment. The very interesting win that last time. And here's the guy who's trying to tie things up at the 12 o'clock position, our Blue Zerg player.
Team Gamers League Snute.
This year has definitely been Snute's year. He really has improved as a player. He's a very hardworking player, actually. Spent a lot of time in Korea training, spent a lot of time in the Ministry of Windhouse in Poland as well training, and it started to take effect, and I'm sure he's very happy with the progress he's made this year. I'm sure his team is very happy. But Bomber, likewise, is starting to get back into the same rhythm that he used to be playing at. And he seems a tournament-winning caliber player right now.
Yeah, he's obviously had his performances, finished third at MLG not too long ago, so he's certainly back in the spotlight. StarTale, when you talk about teams that just have incredible depth of rosters, I can't think of a better one than StarTale at the moment. Possibly Incredible Miracle, but StarTale has just been fantastic.
That's right, they just have a great depth of players, a variety of races as well. And we are going to see Hatchery first coming down by Snute as expected. Surprised that we are going to have a Barracks first here from Bomber, but I think what we're going to be seeing here, potentially Hellion play on a map this big. It's very fast, very mobile, can keep the pressure on. But as I say that, he's actually taken gas early on.
Yeah, started that at the exact same time that he put up his orbital command.
Yeah.
So we'll see what plan he has with that here. He's still going to have enough resources for another command center here momentarily, and we'll see if he decides to expand out of it and just get up that factory as quick as possible.
In these positions, though, Bomber should know that the overlord that's going to get closest to scouting him is going to come from the left direction, because naturally a Zerg player is going to send their first overlord by close by air. So if Bomber identifies where this is going to be, he can actually send a Marine in that direction to prevent any scouting going on. But he didn't actually mine straight away from that refinery. He did get the command center down first, then is mining. So all that this is actually going to entail, especially if he doesn't build any Marines, which we're not seeing happen here, is that he's saving resources to go straight into a reactor from his barracks, can build 4 Marines, and then add a factory behind it. So it's just a detailed build to what you'd usually see.
He has a beautiful little fake at the top. It actually forces a few drones off the line, putting a bunker down there. Snute picks up on it pretty quickly afterwards, though. He's actually just leaving that bunker there. He knows it's going to be canceled. There's not, in fact, been a Marine produced in this game. So back at Bomber's side of things, he's just getting that reactor for now. It's still a long way away from having that 100 gas up for a factory, and he could actually go for a third command center here relatively soon.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now, when you want to build, if he wants to do this style, you build the factory next to the barracks. You can get 4 Marines out before the factory is done. The 4 Marines just naturally go in the bunker, and then you can switch over into going for Hellions from the reactor. The thing that I noticed from Bomber, though, he didn't take a second gas. So yeah, he's going to be going for a third command center pretty fast here.
All right, well, he had the resources for it a couple of times, so decides to invest back into his orbital commands, make sure he gets all of his factories, his continued Marine production up and going. He was producing a bunker for a while outside of the ramp next to his natural, but decides against it based on what he saw before. Snute, though, pretty much going with the same thing. I believe it was 4 queens to open, double gas at about the same time, so he's not really differentiated his builds quite yet.
That's right, and very similar to game one, he has two choices, speed first or straight over to the layer, depending on how he wants to play this out. Previously, he elected to go for the roach speed really fast from researching layer. This time, I don't think that's going to be the case. On a big map like Metropolis, I think it's better to get speed out, then to get the double evolution chambers to start to focus on getting those upgrades out nice and early, which Bomber should likewise be doing.
And Bomber is actually putting up a bunker inside of his main, wants to remain extra safe, and once again, Snute going for the same thing he did last time. We see the quick layer tech, we'll see if that Roach Warren gets put down, and we have that glial reconstitution coming up quickly.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens here. I mean, of course he doesn't necessarily need to do that. He could easily throw down the Spire or Infestation Pit if he wants to branch that way. And we'll see. As Bomber right now switching over to tanks very early behind his third command center. Going tanks early, it's not a sign of aggression because you can't be aggressive with tanks without stim, without combat shields, without upgrades. So tank early on is for protection. So if we are going to see the same Roach build, which we see the Roach Warren coming down for, the tanks are going to be very valuable in this situation.
Yeah, especially because there's such a narrow path that those Roaches have to go through in order to attack into the natural. Just a couple well-positioned tanks on the high ground are going to be able to watch that entire space. Oh, but the tanks are actually revealed there if Snute was paying attention because a little bit of damage was done from the high ground there. And now, of course, they're explicitly seen.
So I'm interested to see if Snute's going to still try to go for this, because by the time the Roaches have Roach speed and get there, there's going to be 3 to 4 tanks out if Bomber consistently builds them here. So I'm not sure if this Roach one's going to be used. We'll see if he gets the Roach speed. I'll be very interested if he does get it, because I feel it can't work anymore now that the tanks have been revealed. So he's going to take a third base no matter what. Roach speed hasn't started, and he has the resources for it. So that Roach Warren, I don't think he's going to use it.
No, I don't either. If you remember the last game, he started making those Roaches as he was taking his third. It was actually a little bit before his third had gone down, so he's completely switching things up, investing into his melee upgrades as well. Roach speed is still on the way, but more just to have than anything and eventually to be used later on in the game.
That's right, and I love this reaction from Snute. He's reading into this game really well, says that, all right, there are tanks there. That means that he doesn't have stim if he's going to get tanks early. That means he can't pressure, double expand, and go Infestation Pit at the same time here. So this is a really intelligent play and decision from Snute.
And Bomber right back says, okay, well, I'm going to make a 4th command center, and I'm just going to start taking the map. So he's investing into his economy very well. He's getting a lot of production facilities behind this, too. Snute's still doing a nice job at blocking bases like he did in the game prior, making sure that everything is just as annoying as it can be, because like I said, I mean, that's another minute that command center is delayed.
That is right, and every little bit's going to help there for Snute. Pathogen Glands is on the way, so is Roach Speed. He actually has got a couple of Roaches out. I'm just going to have a look. 10 Roaches have been made. We'll see to what extent they're used. Of course, just initially starting off with killing the rocks or debris in between these bases. Still not too feeling them. I don't think he can get too much damage done with them, but of course they can always be a part of the army. We'll see if he attempts anything.
Okay, well, good coverage on both sides, really. The Overlords are in nice positions to pick up on drops. The Xel'Naga towers are being taken by these Hellions, so pretty good map coverage by both players, but otherwise we kind of just stabilized here, and this has the feel of one of those very 15-minute no-rush games to them.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a long one, that's for sure. As Bomber has full intention to play long with double engineering bay down, 4 command centers already, Snute with 4 expansions as well at the 10-minute mark. Definitely going to be a long game here, as we're starting to see the creep spread really get pushed out. This one Hellion does deny a couple of those creep tumors, which, to be honest, the Hellion shouldn't be on the Xel'Naga towers by now. Snute definitely needs to just send the Roaches or the Lings out there to get rid of them so he can actually get past the halfway line.
And it looks like that's what he's doing right now, actually. So he's going to take back control of the Xel'Naga towers. So the Hellions are pushed off, and then the creep spread shouldn't be an issue from here on out. Now, is Bomber going to... What style is he going to go on as we move through this game? Players like, let's see here, FXO Gumiho, IGNProLeague, really fond of moving into super high-tech starport, almost Sky Terran strategies as we move later on this map. Is Bomber the kind of player, though, to really go for something like that?
Absolutely. I feel he's going to play very passively. I don't think he's going to hit too many timings. Aggressive, massive attack timings. I think he'll move out to start to take map control once his upgrades for the infantry kick in. But he's going to slowly take a 4th base with his tanks, and then he's actually going to start to get the starports out for sure. That is exactly how Bomber likes to play, such as the players you mentioned.
Okay, so more barracks coming up, and yet another command center is going to be created for Bomber. So he is playing for that incredibly late game. He flies directly over a couple of Zerglings, so we mentioned the good map control on both sides. So Snute, if he was being observant of the mini-map, he sees this, and indeed, he's already sending Zerglings back into the main.
As a Terran player right now, there's obviously no way you can move out with the units you have. You don't have combat shield, you only have +1/1 on the bio, so he's going to use the just drops initially to slow down Snute as much as possible. Because right now Snute has 5 bases. He's about to take this other one on the right-hand side, but already there are roaches and lings there. There seems to be units in the main base as well, if I can tell by the minimap. So I think Snoot's covering all angles really well against this aggression.
Yeah, and drops are happening in both bases now, but the one on the right-hand side over to the 4th is picked up on immediately. This one here on the left-hand side is going to be picked up on pretty quick as well. Nice fungal growth, and Snute shuts that down right away.
And in the middle of the map, these units are there only to kill creep, and he lost them immediately there, and the other ones return back, trying not to lose them for nothing. But the Hive is on its way. This game's been very passive. Welcome to Metropolis. This is how it usually plays out. But there are a lot of Lings and Banelings being morphed. But the tanks are there's so many tanks spread out here. I don't think Snute can break through this. He's going to lose a lot of gas here if this doesn't work.
There's something to be said for...
Bomber's unsieged!
Oh, he is completely unsieged. Will Snute go right now? He starts to take out a couple of the units in the front. Everything's sieging back up once again, though, and the Banelings are all clumped up. They have to start to separate themselves. Target fire is hitting a few of the Banelings, and they're not actually able to make their way to the Marines. But another set on the right-hand side is going to try and pincher these units in. Great fungal growth, pin everything down. The Banelings are going to clean everything else up.
Whoa, there are so many Zerglings behind this, and one I didn't think was possible is as Snute breaks the front line of Bomber and morphs 15 Banelings in his face, and now is breaking a command center. The third's been evacuated. What an assault!
Yeah, incredible play from him and a great sense of timing, too. Bomber is trying to reestablish himself into a little bit better position so he can cut the bottom of the half of the map off completely, but it's not going to work, and Banelings are just going to crush through everything. The tank goes down as well. The Marines and SCVs are exposed, and those Banelings have done more than their share of damage.
What a mind-blowing timing. As soon as Bomber unsieges and is out of position, Snute goes in. Unexpected from Bomber, had no idea what was going on, and this is happening right now as more Lings are getting streamed across. Bomber's down to 70 supply, and as mentioned, he was planning to play long-term, planning to play the late game, and he never even got there. He was broken down before it could happen.
And behind the Snute is on 5 bases. He's going to Hive Tech. He's got all of his great upgrades, and Ultralisk Caverns on the way. So it's not like that this was it, that he had to push through and win now. He certainly had a contingency plan, and he was playing for the late game too. He just happened to do an incredible amount of damage for that Baneling attack.
That was insane. I've never seen anybody break through at that period in a game. Usually you don't do it because there are too many tanks, but they were not in position. I was very surprised as well that Baneling speed wasn't even done in that fight, yet or at least not at the start of it, but more and more units are coming in, and it looks like Bomber's going to have to try and defend with minimal amounts, only a couple of tanks to defend.
I think Snute smells blood now, and he's going to push his way through one more time. Banelings all rolling through the left-hand side, Zerglings through the right. Actually, most of the Banelings did get picked off by those siege tanks, but there's still just so many of them left over that they still do end up doing a little bit of damage. More SCVs dying. The bio units are going to clean up the rest of the Zerglings, and Bomber does hold. Not the most cost-effective push from Snute, but at this point, he's on 5 bases. His opponent's down to 2. He can continue throwing units, even if they're not the most cost-effective at his opponent.
That's right. He's got such a great income, and he just killed 55 SCVs across the second, the third attack there, and Bomber's down to just 37 SCVs. He's not mining from the largest mineral patch that he has. He's got the balls to send out a medevac with 8 Marines. I'm sure they would love to come back and defend, as it looks like Snute is about to come once again.
I don't know, if I was a Marine, I wouldn't be out there. I wouldn't want to be facing that anymore.
Yeah, I guess, you know, 2 sides of that story.
Well, the Marines are going to try and do a little bit of damage, but Snute had all of his forces back anyway, and he's going to clean this up pretty quickly, or at least necessitate a lift here, as Bomber's going to have to pick those up. He does. No infestors around to lock that down with the fungal growth, though.
Great upgrades coming in for Snute, though, that are really going to seal the deal in this game, as, of course, Bomber's been halted with his production, with his economy, slowed right down to just 2 tanks and 1 Marauder being made at a single time here. And we're about to see what could be this series drawn up as 100 supply difference. Snute is bringing this medevac down. He's got 5 bases. The minimap looks glorious with the amount of Zerglings that are just streaming across, and we're going to end this in a bang.
Yes, we are. A quite literal bang at that, as 58 Banelings are being morphed in at the same time. for our Gamers League Zerg player. Double drop coming in from Bomber. He wants to try and pull forces back or do damage if he can find a way to cost-effectively hold this one more time. There are a couple of tanks in position. If he gets the right couple of shots, I mean, he's almost on a prayer at this point, though.
Well, if Snute doesn't kill Bomber, Snute's lost his 5th and could lose his 4th, actually, and that means he won't really have any gas income anymore, so here comes Snute.
Yeah, Snute rolling in from 2 angles with all those Banelings. They're actually coming through at 2 different times, so the Sea Shanks were actually able to deal with the left side of Banelings before the right side, and they're actually doing a pretty good job of focus firing out, so the Infestors don't have too much support anymore, but Bomber is still just kind of crippling under the weight of all these forces, but a very nice hold once again. Snute throws away a lot of forces without being the most cost-effective. He kills yet more workers, he does more damage, but he's going to lose 2 bases in return.
Yeah, and that drop just kind of activated itself there, and is going to bring down a couple of Queens. If he targeted down the hatch, that would be the best thing in the world right now, and he's going to kill a couple of drones, but I'm afraid that if he does that, then the hatch could stay alive with the amount of lings that are streaming out.
Yeah, he's got to kill it right now. It's down to 400 hit points, being transfused up a couple of times. Bomber trying to sit behind the mineral line there, can't do it. He can't bring down the hatchery, and Snute holds on to it one more time.
And Bomber, the amount of resources that Snute is throwing away with these Banelings come crashing through into tank line after tank line. Well, he's probably going to do it again as the Lings make their way across. A lot of Infestors to back this one up too, but Bomber continuing to hold in an almost impossible situation. I have no idea how he's still in this game, but as you said, cost effectively is trading so incredibly well.
All right, well, we'll see if he can do it. If he can pick up on these Infestors, that would be a wonderful thing for him, but no, looks like those beach balls are going to get thrown up and start the tanks firing on their own units.
That's right, so one tank just gets obliterated immediately, and here comes Snute with the majority of Lings this time, and he's going to go straight for the throat here. Bomber's going to try to hold up the ramp again.
Such a great position for Bomber, though, with those units. He can trade so cost-efficiently time after time after time, and the Ultralists are getting pushed back once again. And I believe the Infestors did make their way into the natural. They're off to the right-hand side just a little bit, but we'll find that out in just a second as Bomber picks up his forces again, and he's actually going to hold on to this orbital command.
That's right, or is he? There are a couple of Infestors, Terrans trying to bring it down.
Yeah.
It looks like it will be able to hold on as an SCV will repair it. And Snute pushes Bomber back to 2 bases, 66 supply to 162. And it looks like Snute is trying to break through again with these Infestors.
Yeah, I mean, Snute still has complete dominance. Looks like there's a double drop over on the... No, actually, when I say double drop, I mean 2 Marines. Double Marines on the right-hand side trying to do damage, but that's not alone going to be enough. And again, Snute, he doesn't have to be the most cost-effective. He can continue just throwing waves and waves of units at his opponents, and it doesn't matter. There's GG. We're tied up 1-1, moving into the deciding elimination game number 3.
A painful death there for Bomber. A very long, drawn-out one, but Snute manages to tie this series up. He has the option now to just win one map, to knock out StarTale Bomber, to move on to another round in this tournament.